Crazy, Chris. You know, bye week's right around the corner, and like it feels like summer's over.
It is almost over. I mean, I got to shut the pool. My boat's got to come on. I got to go to the lake. I got to work. I got to hang all day talking to DB about football. Staying here. I was looking, and you got to start paying me, big boy. I mean, I saw yesterday you left me 2 cases of empties. That ain't working. I got to put some soda in those empties. So I feel better. I want to feel the love, man. I want to feel the love. Right now, I'm not feeling the love.
We'll get you the love. We'll get you the love, Chris.
Oh,
absolutely.
I want the love, baby.
Pull out your 4-stringer. It's the Banjo Bowl. Welcome inside Game Day Winnipeg here on Bonfire Sports. The legendary Chris Walby. My name is Darrin Bauming. Thanks for joining us as we always do, giving you what you need prior to every Blue Bombers game here on YouTube. Chris, the Bombers coming off a Labor Day Classic win, and a big one. Blue Bombers fans are still drinking up and reveling in. A pretty dominant performance led by the defense, 23-8 over the Saskatchewan Roughriders. It was a battle of the 2 best teams record-wise in the CFL. It's really hard to argue right now if there's a team in the league today that can hold a candle to Mike O'Shea's Blue Bombers.
Yeah, you said it. I mean, I think when I talk about that defense right now, I mean, obviously, and I went back in and saw the 3 home games, and they average only giving up 9.6 points. Now, I know that they've only given up 16 during the game. And listen, they've only had 3 points scored in the fourth quarter in 5 games.
They're lights out to close out games, like lights out.
That's the biggest. And then you got to figure out the offense. I love the offense. I mean, they're not putting up crazy numbers, but they're consistent. They move the ball when they have to. They had a clutch drive to beat Calgary. They dominated on the line of scrimmage. Andrew Harris had another nice day, almost cracked the century mark with 95 yards rushing. He spread the ball. And a big thing of what I like, and I know we're going to talk defense a lot because it is about the defense, but Zach Kolaris, he's got a touch on the deep ball right now. 4 receivers with big catches. You know, Darvin Adams, Wolotarski with that nice, across the field catch. Who else got one? I got Kenny Lawler. They all had him. And Rashad
Dembski, another one right in the bucket.
But he's always like that, and that's one thing that Dembski gives you. He is an X factor to me. Always has been. Great player. Can't believe I knew. He played for Saskatchewan before. Wanted to come home, sign here as a free agent. Big addition. They just keep getting rich. They've got such talent here, and I wonder sometimes. I mean, the way they dominated the Saskatchewan Roughriders last week. I'm thinking to myself, did Naaman Roosevelt, who they signed and played for 5 years with Saskatchewan, albeit with a different offensive coordinator, Jason Mott's the guy now, but how much, of tips can he give about, some of the tendencies that he remembers at playing there? I don't know if it's a lot, and I know that just might be, conjecture on my point, but I was just thinking about it. But, listen, I think when I'm looking at this team, and I don't want to cover everything in one sentence here, but the way the Bombers are built right now, from front to, from top office to, Wade Miller, just down to coaching staff to the players, I don't see a weakness on this team. And I know we thought it was the secondary. The secondary's really played well. Alford and what's called Nichols, Dietrich Nichols is a find. Mike Joe's in another corner. Brandon Alexander is now getting a reputation, much like remember, we had a guy named Benny Thompson. He played safety for us, number 37. I think he was the same number. And actually, he was a headhunter, and everybody that came across that field was wondering where he was, because if he hit you, you remembered it. And a lot of times he didn't get up. So, boy, hats off to this defense and the way they're playing.
Brandon Alexander, 2 interceptions and 5 total tackles, including 1 on special teams. He was named one of the CFL's top performers of the week. And, this Roughriders defense goes into this rematch against the Saskatchewan Roughriders getting a little bit healthier. They're missing a couple guys. Noah Hallett is out this week, the Canadian rookie safety. His brother Nick still in to back up Brandon Alexander. Ezekiel Rose, who made his CFL debut last week, injured early in the Labor Day Classic. He's now on the 6-game injured list. But the Bombers get back an impactful player and a rookie, and a guy you and I, Chris, haven't talked about in over a month, and that's Jontrell Rockamore. Started week 1 at the weak side linebacker spot. Of course, we've seen Jesse Briggs come in, Shane Gauthier. They've done a lot of great things, but you add Rockamore to this mix, an American rookie, had an interception in week 1 against the Ticats. He's an impactful player, a smart player, and a very versatile one as well. Fits into this mold of all these hybrid guys and all these different looks this Blue Bombers defense throws at opponents.
Yeah, and I tell you, Rockamore, first off, I love the name. That's a football name. Yeah. Rockamore. You just sound tough. You know what I mean? Mom just said, no, I ain't breastfeeding you anymore, but you're too tough. Well, that's a different story. But anyway, I like what you said. Like Jesse Briggs, man, he's playing so good right now. Shane Gauthier is doing really well. Everybody they put in there, Alden Darby's going to get a second start. They're all, they're just mesh. And that's a credit to the guy that, remember, this was a couple years ago. They were ready to, boot Richie Hall out of here, saying, defense is garbage. Well, look at him right now. With the stuff he's running right now and the talent that he has, I mean, it just shows that if you get the right combination of character and you got a good culture in that defense, stars don't win games. The team chemistry wins games. I mean, you could have stars, and they do have stars in Willie, and I think a future star will be Jackson Jeffcoat. And you talked about Rockamore. I love that name still.
They call him Rock.
Rock. I know. And you think about the guys that got still on the outside, Kyrie Wilson, right? And then Stevens, the Stove Richardson.
And both are getting close to coming back.
And listen, nothing against Casey Sales and Jake Thomas, but that guy gives them incredible push in the middle. And when you get pushed in the middle, your ends can just, they're just licking their chops. It's outside, take a rush outside, quarterback can't step up, bam, they get a sack. And you saw Jeff Coat sack last night. Willie Jefferson was sacked last week. Boy, just dominant.
Speaking of Willie Jefferson, is he the new mayor in town? We're going to hear from him in a second, as well as from head coach Craig Dickenson of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, where he wants his team to be better and the identity he sees across the field and that Mike O'Shea has on this Winnipeg Blue Bombers team. But Chris, we'll get into the Riders defense and the huge pile of changes they have amongst impact players, both coming in and coming out of the lineup. Major news with AC Leonard being suspended 2 games for violating the CFL's drug policy. Refused to provide a sample, so he will miss the next 2 games. No paychecks for him. Essentially the same punishment that Andrew Harris received back in 2019. But Cody Fajardo is going to be without one of his top targets. Jordan Williams-Lambert might have only had 52 yards receiving in the Labor Day Classic, but he accounted for 31% of Fajardo's targets. Let's hear from Cody Fajardo, Chris. He describes this past game as one of his worst ever. He was 59%, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
Yeah, I think I need to play better, and that it all boils down to me. I can only speak for myself. I think I left a few big plays on the field that I overthrew swerve on one of the double moves we had. I also was a little bit quick, and my feet were atrocious. They were too accelerated and too quick, and I didn't let the route concepts develop. And like I talked about early in this meeting, was a lot of it was my pre-snap anticipation, and then post-snap they give me something different. So we know we didn't play to our standards. It just wasn't my night, and that's probably the best way to put it. Sometimes in football, and if you play football long enough or any sport, you just know when it's your night and when it's not your night. And I could tell that definitely wasn't my night. And I'm looking forward to this opportunity to play the same team again. Is rare in a lot of sports, but not in the CFL. So when you lose to a team and you have a back-to-back, it's nice that you get another crack at them, because most of the time you're like, oh, I can't wait to play that team again. You got to wait X amount of weeks until you play them again. So in the CFL, it's fun to have these back-to-backs. If you lose, you get a chance to wash the bad taste out of your mouth. I don't think we did ourselves any justice by not running the ball as well as we probably could have, especially looking at the blueprint Toronto had. I believe they rushed over 100 yards on them in the second game and had a few big runs for touchdowns. So that's going to be a main focal point, but we got to be physical. And like I said, it's not all on that. It's me being better and being more in control and more in rhythm in this game.
The Blue Bombers did exactly what they needed to do, Chris. They got into Cody Fajardo's face, harassed him all afternoon, and that's what led to the Bombers finding success in Regina.
And when you talk to Cody Fajardo, first of all, I love this guy. I really do. I think he's a class act. He's a great ambassador for the CFL and for the province of Saskatchewan.
And he's a good player.
I like the fact that he's a great player, but he fell on the sword. He took it on the sword himself, saying it was me. But I liked his comments because he doesn't hide anything. He says, you know what? One of the things that they confused me was, he said my pre-snap read was different than my post-snap. So after when I go up to get the ball, I see something. I think that's what I'm going to run. All of a sudden, he takes it back and they switch. And the defense does a nice job of disguising what they're doing in coverage-wise. Led to a couple of interceptions. He specifically talks about the first round in Alexander, where the two safeties were supposed to go split to the wide side of the field. Instead, they stayed down, and Alexander came up for the safety and got that easy pick. So, listen, I expect bigger things from him, but as you say, there's a whole heck of a lot of changes, more so on the defense for Saskatchewan than on the offense.
You and I talked about it a few weeks ago here on Game Day Winnipeg on Bonfire's YouTube page. If you haven't already, do all those good YouTube things. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit us up in the comments, ask questions. Yeah. We'll respond to you. We might even talk about those comments on shows in the future. All the different looks this Blue Bombers defense gives. And Jonathan Kongbo mentioned it a few weeks ago, Chris. They go out onto the field and, they are throwing, wild cards kind of at the opponent as it happens. Richie Hall, Darrell Patterson, the defensive line coach, they don't even know what looks the Blue Bombers are bringing. Let's hear a quick word from Blue Bombers defensive line coach Darrell Patterson, a former Blue Bombers defensive lineman himself, his first year coaching in the CFL, about the glut of talent he has to coach this season.
It's a fantastic opportunity to work with some of the greatest. And they're all, there's Hall-of-Famers in here. And it's a great opportunity to just learn from them. They learn from me. And you just take the knowledge and you just put it all together and try to run with it.
You've been coaching in the United States for quite a long time, since your playing days here in Canada. Tell us about, that path, what you can learn from the American game that's translatable up here in Canada and maybe vice versa.
Well, the uniqueness of it all is when you look at it. I had an opportunity to work at Kentucky, and I was coaching on the defense side of the ball, of course. And at that time, they were just getting the air raid had just started. Well, air raid I had already started in Canada. A lot of the things that they were doing, we were doing in Canada when I was playing. So it was a little carryover and things, so you're able to utilize some of the past knowledge and some of the things that you've worked with and have done. So, and the game is expanded, but you're still dealing with, hey, there's a football, offense wants to keep it, and the defense wants to get it. And
some of the guys have talked. Yeah. Oh, that's great, Coach. I appreciate that. Some of the players have talked about how, they'll not call an audible, but change things up themselves as far as, where they line up on the field, try to, confuse the opponent a little bit. Does it ever, make your eyes open up? You're like, oh, what are they doing out there? Is there any moments like that?
Every once in a while you think about it and you know what you've talked about and when you've gone over in the meeting rooms and the things that transpire. So you're not always expecting it at that particular time, but you do understand that as you play and as you're on the field and you start getting a feel for the environment in which transpiring and communications and all of the things that happen that are verbal and nonverbal throughout the course of the game. Well, you go into a zone. And when you go into that zone and you're starting to see those things and react to them, all of a sudden your experience will take over and you're just like, and you work with that group continuity, as you've heard earlier. And with that group, they can verbalize and get what they want done quickly. And when you come off, they'll say, hey, Coach, well, we did this. And I said, yeah, I saw it worked well. And you go along with it because it's not the first time players have done that. Been doing it for many years.
Darrell Patterson was a linebacker, not a D-line. Just thought I'd tell you that. Don't make me come across the screen and give you one of them across the beard there. Even though your beard's looking good, okay.
Thank
Well, yeah,
you.
he was a linebacker. He was my teammate, and he was a linebacker, and a very good one at that too.
I appreciate that correction, Chris. Like, he's got so much talent, all these hybrid type players to work with. But you know, it goes beyond that. It's all the different looks, 3 and 4 man fronts, moving linebackers up to the line, or in Adam Bighill's case, back to safety, the dime back, Brandon Alexander coming up to the line of scrimmage. Defensive ends are lining up at tackle. They're putting, you know, Casey Sales on the end, Jake Thomas on the end. If you're an offensive lineman and you don't know if you have a 300-pound tackle coming at you on the edge, or if you got a speed guy trying to split the A gap right up the middle, that has to cause headaches.
Well, it does. And actually, as an old lineman, you count from the inside out. So you have a numbering system. You don't get caught up on the numbers so much as far as the middle linebacker. But what the defense schemes, which is smart, he'll put a linebacker, say, over the tackle, put the end outside. Well, I can either let that linebacker go and have the back pick him up, which means he's got to get right to the line of scrimmage, or I'll take him and he's gonna take and get, hopefully block the defensive end, which is a tougher challenge. And that's what the defense is trying to do. Create mismatches, get somebody smaller blocking on a bigger guy. We're blessed that, you know, on our team, we got Andrew Harris, who's a heck of a blocker, Mike Miller, who's just a beast on special teams, and a good fullback when he gets the chance. So, but having said that, yeah, that's the games they play with the O-line. And I remember playing Coach O'Shea. And Coach O'Shea would line up over our guard. And I'd have the right guard beside me, whether it was Nick Benjamin, whether it was Bob Molly, Lyle Bar, whichever guys, David Black. And he would make us make a call. So a lot of times we'd have to say solid, or whatever, right? And he would know it was a pass. Now, he might come, he might drop. And a lot of times these guys do is they'll drop, take 2 steps back, make you commit somewhere, and then they hit the gap. And that's what I think Adam Bighill does especially well.
Well, so many people talk about this Blue Bombers team, Chris, as being built around special teams, from Wade Miller to Kyle Walters to Mike O'Shea. The reality is all 3 of those guys played defense as well. And in Mike O'Shea's case, one of the greatest to ever play in this league as a linebacker for the Argos and the Ticats through his illustrious career. It's, you know, so often we get tied up about the specials on this team, but they've got a lot of strong defensive minds, a lot of veteran minds as well, led by one of the most veteran of them all in Richie Hall. And it's been growing pains for a few years. We saw them really turn a corner in the playoffs last year. Year off in 2020. What was 2021 going to look like? Well, it's looking like one of the best defenses of all time. And that's no longer just hyperbole. It's kind of reality, isn't it?
Yeah, you know what? And I have to say this because a lot of times the quote was defense wins championships, and offense will win you games sometimes, but defense is really the backbone of that team. And, you know, I was fortunate enough for the 88. Look at our defense. And, we beat BC. In 90, our offense won that game when we beat, Edmonton 50-11. So,
right.
It's take the turn, but defenses are great. When I'm on the field, and Bombers are number 1 defense for forcing 2-and-outs. They have the most 2-and-outs forced by that defense. They're not letting anybody stay on the field long. They got number 1 turnovers. They're just doing a good job. So, I mean, they've got to just continue what you're doing, do what Richie Hall's doing. Now, you mentioned something, and I want to get on this, but I think that I know you say they say they can make their own plays up on the defensive line. I can put them to, as long as they know each other's position. Right. And the gaps, so they got to go, because that's how you get a mistake. Because you always talk about just do your own job. And if I got to go and play defensive tackle right now, and I'm so used to being on the outside contained end, I got to make sure now, do I have A gap or B gap? The gap by the center or the gap between the guard and tackle? You have one mistake, and I think that's what happened in those games they got run on. They started to get too fancy, too tricky, boom, and they got exploited.
Well, and they got to watch this week. William Powell is a heck of a talented running back. Saskatchewan has struggled to run the football this year. I don't know if that's Jason Moss just not wanting to run.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Or if they're just not seeing the looks they want. We know Cody Fajardo can do it with his legs and his arm, but something's missing from this Riders attack.
You can't run William Powell. Well, I loved him when he played for Ottawa. The guy's a stud. And I mean, he's a horse when he runs back there. He runs straight ahead. He's strong. He breaks tackles. But you run him 8 times a game? 8 times. You're not going to win. I mean, that plays right into the Bombers.
Yeah.
Because the fact is, now you force Cody to throw the football. And they weren't out of the game by that much. I mean, they were winning the halftime, 8-7.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the Bomber defense gets stronger and stronger as the game goes on, and they shut them out in the second half. So, I mean, it's just one of those things that I think that if I'm Saskatchewan, and I'm not trying to be biased here, I'm just saying, if I'm Saskatchewan, I'm trying to, no matter what, establish that run game. I've got to make the Bomber defense honest.
I wonder if, with how good the Bombers have been against the run, especially in 2019, that opposing teams just say, well, okay, there's DeAndre Alford, there's a rookie. Oh, there's Dietrich Nichols, that's a rookie. Oh, maybe it's Josh Miller or David Rivers, one of these rookies lining up for the Blue Bombers that they have this year. Let's throw the football, and they abandoned the run early. Either way, it's working. And with these young guys stepping up, and with these veterans, Big Hill and Jefferson and so many others, Jeff Code and Jake Thomas, they're all playing at as high a level, you could argue, as they ever have. And there was Willie Jefferson, Chris, on walkthrough day on Friday here in Winnipeg, wearing a familiar t-shirt. So I asked him where he got it.
Willie, what's going on with the t-shirt, man? Whose closet did you steal that out of?
See, I ain't got to steal, man. I get gifts. This was gifted to me by a fan, a very loving fan. Came all the way down from outside of Manitoba. They told me that they've been around since Swaggerville, and they see what we're doing, and he wanted me to, wear this shirt in commemoration of what we've been doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, in no way, shape, or form, the defense that we are right now is Swaggerville. This is just something that I wanted to do for the fans. They love Winnipeg defense, and the last time the Winnipeg defense was something like this, it was this. So,
you mentioned on social media a couple weeks ago that you were the new mayor of Swaggerville. Is that self-proclaimed? Is that something your teammates have put on you? The fans? Where does that come from?
It's more of something that I stepped into myself, knowing what Swaggerville is, knowing who started Swaggerville and things like that. I kind of just wanted to take that upon myself, taking it from Odell and JJ, Jovan Johnson. I just want to take that upon myself, especially knowing that the fans out here in Winnipeg still know what Swaggerville is and things like that. So I just want to try to be more engaged with the fans and things like that. So I just made myself the mayor of Swaggerville, which Odell came and told me that, you know what I'm saying, I am the mayor of Swaggerville. So I basically got elected into that position, and I'm taking full control of it, full advantage, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, this defense, the 2019-2021 Winnipeg defense is nothing like Swaggerville. We are dark side. We are what we are.
You're going to have to ask Odell where the flag is, or the big banner he had of Mayor of Swaggerville. Are you guys hoping to put your own identity on this so-called Swaggerville 2.0?
Yeah, we the dark side. You know what I'm saying? Swaggerville had a lot of swag. There was a lot of players on there that made a lot of plays, made a lot of noise, things like that. We have something similar to that, but we play mad and we play angry and we play to take the ball away. That's something that me, Biggs, Jackson, and a couple of other guys, BA, Nick Taylor, that's something we came up with. We play angry, we play mad, and we play on the dark side of the ball. So that's what we are.
Thanks, Willie. Have a good Banjo Bowl.
Thank you.
When Willie Jefferson declared himself the new mayor of Swaggerville a few weeks ago on social media, it caught, I'll be honest, in what I read from fans, it caught many different. Some people liked it. Other people said, whoa, wait a second. That Swaggerville team, they couldn't win a Grey Cup championship. We should put that to bed. Well, Willie Jefferson likes it. He has got, the hat tip from the mayor of Swaggerville 1.0 in Odell Willis. Yeah. And this Blue Bombers defense, well, they've got rings in their bedside table at home, on the mantle above the fireplace. They've got their championship. I think if they want to be called Swaggerville 2.0, they're Swaggerville 2.0.
And that's the thing. I mean, people are talking about Willie Jefferson, and he's, he loves to talk a lot of garbage on the line, and that's always like that. I mean, when we played, guys would always talk about your mama, and tell your mama to pick up her suitcase from my house, whatever, some crazy stuff. But listen, Willie Jefferson also, 100th game, and it's this Banjo Bowl. So I'm expecting Willie, number 5, to light it up. I really think he's going to have a good game. I think he's even going to be more fired up. You're going to have a sellout crowd. He just plays into it. I mean, I just think there's no reason I really think the Bombers are going to have a great game. Just because I don't think Saskatchewan, I think they have too many people out there at key positions. Obviously, Lucius Purifoy and Ed Gainey, they're 2 halfbacks, which are probably one of the more important positions on that defensive secondary. New guys, they're moving guys all over. Nick Marshall moving back inside. They've got, AJ Hendy going from strong side linebacker to halfback. So there's and we're talking about communication, right? Now, it's going to be crazy out there. I mean, it's just going to be so loud. I'm looking forward to seeing it when there's 33,000 people just going banana. There's not many Saskatchewan fans making the trip, obviously because of the pandemic situation still a little bit.
But they are allowed. They bring their proof of vaccination. They can get in.
Yep.
Yeah, but with that capacity crowd, we saw it leading up to the Labor Day Classic, that pumped in crowd noise during Bombers practice to help the Winnipeg Blue Bombers offense learn the hand signals and the nonverbal communication. This past week, it was for the other side of the football and the Bombers defense. So when Fajardo and the Riders offense is on the field and you got 33,000 plus in blue and gold trying to make noise and throw them off, well, the defense needs to be nonverbal communication as well. Let's hear from Brandon Alexander on, ensuring that the Bombers are where they need to be.
Yeah, it's definitely like what you just said. That communication going to have to be way different than what it was in Saskatchewan. Only because when we were on the field, it was a lot quieter for the offense to be able to hear what they need to hear. Now, our crowd is not going to allow them to do that. And so, with that being said, it's going to be hard for us on our side to be able to do the same thing. And so, when we're fighting the same battle on their offense versus our defense, what we have to do is that communication, well before the snap, well before we get out there on the field, well before any of those things, we have to know already what the calls are, what the checks are, when they do this, what we need to do, things like that. And then on the field wise, the looking at each other, the hand signals, everything like that, all that stuff matters for this game because a lot of talking is not going to be able to happen while we're on the field on that defense.
Chris, it's going to be a celebration at IG Field for the Banjo Bowl and a chance for the Bombers to sweep this home-and-home series with the Riders for just the 3rd time ever.
And you're thinking about it too, right? This is a divisional rival. This is the last time they're playing them. The 2 top teams, evidently, 3-1 and 4-1. You get that separation, and if they ever end up tied, it comes down to games won or points. So, I mean, this is a huge game for the Bombers. Like I said, this is what you want to do. You want to win Labor Day. Sometimes coaches say if we could split the series, but now they've got one in their pocket, and I think they're even going to be stronger, as they say, tomorrow or today. I just think it's going to be a great game, and I just think the defense and the offense. And I know we talk a lot about defense, but you look at our offensive line, it's a stud, probably the best in CFL. Stanley Bryant, a stud. Jamarcus Hardrick, stud.
They're all stars.
They're all stars. I mean, they can
all
go
of
right at the line.
Yep.
And you look at a guy that's second year, Drew Desjardins, who really stepped into that spot last year as a rookie and has really grown. And I love, I'm reading something by Stanley Bryant says, I wouldn't let him talk last year. This year I let him talk a little bit. So, it's communication. But
I'm glad you mentioned that. Let's hear from Stanley Bryant on Drew Desjardins because I think he's a player not a lot of people give the recognition that he deserves, although he is young.
Drew, he's grown over the year. 2019 he stepped in and got a chance to play. 2019 I didn't let him speak much, when we were out there playing. But now he's able to say a few things, and sometimes he corrects me, so that's a good thing. He brings a lot of energy. He's a strong, fast, physical guy. I mean, he stepped up and he's joined the group and knowing how things we do. He's just been good. I mean, it's not a surprise to me. Even camping 19, you can see the flashes, and then he put it all together. 19, when he got a chance, and then now this year is just sky's the limit for him.
Stanley, can you tell us a little bit about the Saskatchewan Roughriders defensive front, what they do well, what they bring, and then where you guys want to try to take advantage of them this week?
They're a good physical group. They do show a lot of different things on the D-line. They have guys dropping, guys blitzing, all different things. But I think, honestly, if we just go out there and do what we did Sunday, I think we'll be fine. You know, it's going to be a challenge either we're there or here because, like I said before, they're a great front. You know, they do different things. 99 is having a good season. You know, AC's been there for a while. They missed Micah last week. I don't know if he's up this week, but if they get him back, that's a great addition for them. So it's going to be a physical matchup once again Saturday. But, I mean, if we go out there and control the line of scrimmage, we'll come out victor.
Appreciate it, Stanley. Good talking to you again.
Thank you.
It really is all-stars across the board on that Blue Bombers offensive line. Andrew Harris looks like his same old self. And you talked about it earlier, Chris, here on Game Day Winnipeg on Bonfire Sports. Zach Kolaris is as effective and pinpoint accurate as he's ever been. He was 70% in the Labor Day Classic. He's amongst the league leaders in passing yards, though he doesn't really throw for a ton from, game to game. He's just kind of amassed a lot this season. And he is efficient. Does not throw a lot of picks, had one in the Labor Day Classic tipped that the Riders were able to capitalize on and get points off of. But really outside of that, this Blue Bombers offense just seems to be another area with a glut of talent. And Naaman Roosevelt, people are crying for him to get in the lineup. He will not play in the Banjo Bowl, but it's because they essentially don't really need him yet. So let him get comfortable.
And you're right. And one of the things I'm going to touch on that because I thought there were great points by DB about Zach Kolaris. He's number one in the CFL for deep balls over 30 yards. He's got 8. And I think he might be tried with the quarterback out of Edmonton. But having said that, that's number one. You look at Cody Fajardo, he's only got 2 pass completions over 30 yards in 4 games. You got to stretch that defense. He's not doing it. Their defense is making him hold the ball, or he's getting rid of it, and he has to dump it. So I'm surprised they're not stretching the field a little bit more. And you brought it up in the beginning of this show that you thought maybe because they look at Alford and Nichols and Mike Jones and Nick Taylor, they might want to go stretch these guys, and they haven't. So it'll be really interesting to see. Are they going to go double tight too? If I want to protect myself a little bit more from the rush of Jackson and Willie, I might put a double tight to that side, make him go a little wider to get to the quarterback. So there's going to be a whole lot of game playing. This chess match will be phenomenal to watch tomorrow.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders have some areas they want to improve on. I also asked their head coach, Craig Dickenson, about Mike O'Shea's field position game. He talked about their identity.
I think they've done a good job over there. And I've known Mike for a long time, and I know the GM, Kyle Walters, for a long time. And it just seems like the continuity that they've developed over the years, they've been there together for about 7 or 8 years now. I think there's a philosophy there, especially when you think about the president being Wade Miller, who was the all-time leading special teams tackler until Mike Miller beat him. But you got Wade Miller president, you got Kyle Walters, a former special teams coordinator and a special teams player when he played, and you got Mike O'Shea, who's got a strong special teams background. So you got really 3 guys. So I think they understand the importance of field position. I think they understand the importance of being good on the lines. That's the way that team's built. You look at that roster, and you can see where their emphasis is. It's special teams and being good up front on the defensive line and the offensive line. So they got skilled players too. They've done a good job all the way around. But you can see when you look at that roster and you watch them on film, they put a lot of emphasis on being physical. They put a lot of emphasis in the kicking game. And they put a lot of emphasis on being big and nasty on both sides of the ball up front.
What do you see from Zach Kolaris this season and as well as in the Labor Day Classic?
Zach, just a true pro, does what he needs to do to win, makes the play when he needs it, hits the throw when he needs it as well, tough, bounces off the turf. He's just a competitor. I think he's from Ohio, and you can see that Ohio toughness in him. He's just one of those guys. Doesn't seem to get rattled too much. I think he's gaining confidence in the system. I think Buck Pierce has done a nice job with him over there, running things that he's good at and really giving him the reins to that offense. So Zach's a good football player, and he seems to be a good fit over there in Winnipeg.
Maybe it's obvious, but were turnovers or giveaways a major deciding factor in that game that your team can clean up this week?
Yep, they were. We were -2. I think that's the first time we've lost the turnover battle all year. And you got to play a perfect game if you lose the turnover battle, and we didn't. So anything we can do to to eliminate turnovers and take a few away is going to help us. It's not a guarantee you're going to win, Darren, but it's the biggest indicator week in and week out. If you can win the turnover battle and you can and have some execution on both sides of the ball, you got a pretty good chance.
Thanks, Coach. Have a good week.
Yeah, you too.
So often the phase of football associated with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and that's special teams. Mike Miller is leading the league in special teams tackles once again. He obviously set and continues to build on the all-time special teams tackle record for career players in the CFL. He is an absolute rocket to the ball carrier on the cover teams. But then there's the other side of things where the return game in Winnipeg isn't what it needs to be.
Well, I know our guys are constantly working hard at it. I know that we just need to see more pictures and get more experience on there. I do. I don't see it as something that we're grasping at. I just think it's going to take a little bit of time while guys get more and more used to the guys they're playing beside, the angles, the nuances of the return game, because we do have some younger guys out there, and they're getting it, they're picking it up. But it's not easy, right? Like running down the field and making a tackle, or getting off a block and making a tackle, is really something these guys do a lot of. So when you have a lot of defenders that are playing the blocking game, it sometimes, to keep drilling, you got to keep drilling and drilling and drilling some of the techniques we want used. And once you break training camp, you really are limited with time that you have to keep those drills going. So we work on it, try to work on aspects of our return game every single week, and it'll come.
So often in these rivalry games, Chris, it does come down to special teams and there being one big play that can be the difference in the game.
And I know they miss Janarian Grant. He's not has been there, but Charles Nelson, like his speed. The cover teams in the CFL have done an outstanding job, and that's one thing. Craig Dickenson, as a head coach, is also a special team coach in Saskatchewan, and they've done a great job of corralling Charles Nelson, not allowing him. He's averaging 8.1 yards a return. I think they'd like to see a little bit more production as to to the field position.
No question.
And then the other thing, when you look at it, conversely, you got John Ryan on the other, leads the league in punt average, 49, almost 50 yards. You got what's his name, Brett Lother, who's 11 of 12 on field goals. And so when I go to field goals, then I look at Mark Leggio. 1 for 3 last week. He's he's 3 of 5 for the year. I mean, you know what? He was very lucky they had a procedure call to kick the winner in Calgary. I mean, this is something I think that I don't know if they're settled on him. I know that O'Shea, one thing I like about him is he always gives confidence. He never knocks a player. He's going to have to do something, but for me, Leggio's got to, I know he's a good kicker. He's got to put it out there and show now.
Yeah, it's probably a between the ears thing with Mark Leggio. He talked about needing to straighten out his process on field goals. This week he talked about that. That's why they brought in Tyler Carpina. But now that Carpina is on the 6-game injured list, it's left to Mark Leggio. The Bombers did sign an American kicker. He remains on the practice roster right now and going through his COVID protocols and quarantine. But I don't see the Bombers making a change at kicker in the short term right now. Leggio needs to just continue to get comfortable, grow, settle in. He's got a huge leg. He's punting the football extremely well, accurate and powerful, but it's those field goals when he, misses one, like he missed a convert, right? Yeah. And, then he goes against the Stampeders, misses that convert, and then he goes 4 for 4 and is named, one of the top performers of the week because he nails a game winner. Yeah.
I don't like when kickers get player of the week. So that's just my peeve. You're paid to kick the ball through the upright, so you get 3 in a row, 4 in a row, and all of a sudden you're a star.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Anyway, that's just my personal beef. And that's not against Westy and all those other guys, Trevor Kenner. I love them all, but hey, no.
Yeah, well, if he didn't miss that convert, I thought, okay, maybe he would be more deserving of it. But regardless, going 4 for 4, hitting his first career field goal from 50 was a huge confidence builder. He's talked about that. Yeah, I mean, this is the Banjo Bowl, Chris. We've seen one play decide this game countless times. Leggio needs to be on the mark in this game. Okay, Chris. It's time for your 3 keys to the game here on Game Day Winnipeg.
And offensively, we talked about this already. They didn't show DB. The Bombers ran the ball really well to start the game last week in the Labor Day, and they ran it really well coming out at halftime. They got to continue that, to dominate the line of scrimmage, get the big boys up front hungry. They don't want to be in a pass pro all game, and they got to continue. One thing I like, they're making big plays. Darvin now is 41 yards, Drew Wolotarski 28 yards, Kenny Lawler 40 yards, big chunks of real estate. And that's due to Zach and the protection. So that's offense for me. Defense, you just got to be big and nasty up front. Continue that. Continue to disguise your blitz package because it really caused Fajardo a lot of problems. And our special teams, we just talked about it. Listen, Mike Miller is a beast. As you say, 13 special tackles. Actually, the first 3 guys leading the special teams tackles are all Bombers. So that just tells you how good they are. But Mike Miller is like 5 or 6 ahead of everybody. Yeah. He's just a beast, and he gets played short. And then we talked about Lego. Lego's just got to be better. Lego's leg got to do the talking, or Lego's leg going to be doing the walking.
Well
there you go.
Put.
A little quote at the end of the show, brother.
Yeah, I like that. Good quote, Chris. With Luciez Purifoy and Ed Gainey out of the lineup, as well as Jordan Williams-Lambert, and then the return of Micah Johnson, it's going to be interesting to watch that interior line of scrimmage with the Bombers' offense against the Riders' defense. And with how accurate Zach Kolaris has been, we're not talking about drops anymore, are we? Wolotarski, double move on the rookie Brown last week, lays out for a huge catch. That sets up a pinpoint touchdown pass off the arm of Zach Kolaris. He's putting it right on the money. And with so many changes to the Rough Riders back end, I'm thinking that intermediate and deep pass game where Kolaris is shown to just be so accurate this year, especially on the deep balls. You mentioned that earlier on the show. I think that's going to be a huge area for Winnipeg. You know what you're going to get from Andrew Harrison controlling the football and running it. But then it's going to be those opportune shots down the field, I think, is going to be a real key for Winnipeg to put up some points in this game.
Yeah, I know Shea said talks about it all the time. He goes, a game is usually, made on 5 or 6 big plays.
Right.
And if you get the majority of the big plays, usually you win the football game. Listen, I think that the Bombers have everything and they're going the right way right now. The strength and their veteran status, they're getting healthy again. To me, they've got to me, in my mind, the front runner for NOP is Zach Kolaris. They got all-stars in the O-line. There's no weaknesses. You got all-stars in defense. This could very well be a blowout tomorrow in the Bombers' favor.
Yeah, it absolutely could be. Chris, as we wrap the show, just kind of an update to all the listeners and viewers out there. I tried calling our good friend, the man who named the Banjo Bowl, Troy Westwood, this week. Got no answer. He must have his headphones on and his banjo music absolutely cranked. He didn't answer his phone. Wanted to have him on the show.
Yeah, well, we got to get him on the show, man. I missed the little guy, man. He might be out doing some midget wrestling. I don't know. He could
little guy. His arms are bigger than yours.
Oh, I know. He's a horse. I just mess with him like that. Listen, he's one of the strongest guys for a kicker, really.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's he lives in the weight room.
Well, he's kind of like, that's how Mark Leggio is too, right?
They got 2 new dogs, too.
Yeah,
so I know
beautiful
he's really
dogs.
Take care of his dogs, so yeah. He's got a big family, so, I mean, he's busy. But, we'll have to get him on the show for sure to get a kicker's perspective.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate everybody out there for joining Chris and I for Game Day Winnipeg, the Banjo Bowl edition. Enjoy the game. And I'll ask you this, Chris, on the way out. You trim the beard. Does wifey like it? And how's the television reception?
Very good. And look at this thing. Well, look at the shirt. That's my brother right here on my shirt. That's Santa.
Oh,
that's me, baby.
Okay.
Oh. Have you been a good boy, Darrin?
We're a few months out yet. I know there's some decorations are already in the stores, but I'm still trying to feel summer, even if it's not officially anymore.
That's right. All right, brother.
Have a great weekend.
We'll
see you at the game. You got it.
Brother.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.